Hello and welcome to episode number 24 of Daily Update with Sridhar. I'm your host, Iyer. And as always, it's becoming very, very interesting the way the United States elections are panning out. To know more about the latest situation on the ground, let's go over to see Sridhar Chityala ji. Sridhar ji, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskar. Good morning to all in the United States, and good evening to those in India, and good afternoon to those in Europe, and good night to those in the Australasian zone. And well, I think we have entered a very interesting phase in the U.S. elections. The four remaining states: Nevada, Georgia, Pennsylvania, North Carolina. Are the only outstanding. The Midwest states have been have all been turned to Vice President Biden. We also have entered a phase where there is legal challenges being mounted for the process that the respective states have managed in terms of determining the outcome. And there's actually an effort to stop counting in Pennsylvania and Georgia because they believe the Republican Party believes that there is no access to the Republican representatives in the booth centers, and they are far distant from the counting, so they're not aware of the activities going on. And also, the counts that Republican Party has in these specific states doesn't seem to reconcile with the numbers that they are seeing coming out of either outcomes or the lead changes which occur overnight. There's also a perception, or based on anecdotal as well as other evidence, that suddenly, we found 100,000 votes missing that's been added. We found 45,000 votes that's added. These postal ballots came a little late, and so we have added. So there's a huge credibility question around what is the process and what is an independent, objective process to validate when the signatures were put, when it was date stamped, and whether they're really the genuine votes or not. They could be the genuine votes. That's the view of the Republican, but why we are being denied access. What is also strange is that they conceded defeat almost instantaneously in Florida where the margins are fairly similar, like 2.4, 2.5. And whereas the states which is in contention, seems to appear, I'm not drawing any conclusions here, are all managed mostly by the Democratic governors, right? And you can see the debate that is going on between the Pennsylvania representatives and the Republican Party, which was quite vocal. Rudy Giuliani is representing the case. So I think that, in my humble view, we are probably either 1 week away or 1 month away or 3 months away, depending on what the legal process that is going to emerge out of all these cases that are being filed.
So one observation I have is that in order for the Trump team to prevail, I heard that they have now lawsuits in 3 different states: Michigan, Pennsylvania, and I think Nevada or Georgia. So in order for them to prevail, then they need to have compelling evidence to overturn some of the results. It could be like this particular set of votes are not valid, they should be taken out of the tally, and so on and so forth. So do you think, in your opinion, the Republicans have that kind of a compelling evidence?
They have compelling evidence, which is one of the reasons why they are mounting the cases in these 3 specific states. Arizona is also under consideration, is in question. They're waiting for the final count to come out. The belief is that there are 2 essential principles behind the contention. The first principle is the Republican representatives in these counting centers have indicated that they are not within the line of sight of how the votes, how the ballots are being opened up and how the ballots are being kind of put into the counting system, the process. They have no visibility. COVID has been used as a tool to keep them away, while the Democratic representative seems to be quite comfortable where they are. The second is that always these new votes, seem to appear. X number of votes appear in the night, and then suddenly the count numbers change. Now, it is considered that almost there's a precedence of a huge number of votes that are postal, all point to Democrats, where Republicans chose to come in person and do the voting, right? So there is that. But what they're saying is that these votes turning up in the counting center, whether they have passed the test of stringent screening in terms of the signatures, dates, and stamps in the ballots for it to be considered, right? Or whether they were backdated, et cetera, et cetera. So I think one is the process. The second is the legitimacy of these votes, which has not been independent and objectively validated. So I think this is where the Republicans are coming from. And Rudy Giuliani yesterday was quite specific. This could have come from Mars. This could have come from DNC. We don't know because we can't see. We have not been allowed to see. That's his contention.
That rather raises very important questions. And again, state to state laws change, state to state, the type of ballot that are used changes. So we are in for a few more days of uncertainty before things start settling down. For example, in Arizona, most of the counting is done in not only just Arizona, many states. You have volunteers who come in and count the vote. These are not paid people. They are just citizens like you and I who are coming and counting the votes. And they said that they were going to be updating only once a day. And today's update will be coming in about 12 hours time. So Arizona might not be declared till another 2 to 3 days. Pennsylvania, on the other hand, they are going to allow votes to be mailed in even now. For 3 days, they gave an extension. So that is 4th, 5th, and 6th. So again, that has its own bent. Even the state Supreme Court said it is okay to do that. But I don't know if it will stand muster. It will pass muster at the Supreme Court in the federal level. We don't know. So you have all these hodgepodge of situations and issues. The most compelling thing to me is that some evidence has emerged out of Wisconsin. Again, these are all tweets that I'm going by. I don't have any validity to back up this thing. Where they were saying in Wisconsin that the number of votes cast was more than the registered number of voters. So why isn't Trump team looking at Wisconsin, sir? I'm just asking you a rhetorical question.
Well, I think they're looking at all of the data. I think Michigan is also coming to contention. Very soon, probably Wisconsin may come into contention, and even Nevada may come into contention in terms of the counting. So I think that nothing has been excluded. As they go through the discovery process, more will come. That is why I feel that this could be a stalemate for even 3 months or 4 months as the battles are now taken into the courtrooms, right? So therefore, the point that you made. I mean, I've heard in Michigan, the whistleblower talking about how the postal authorities were told, okay, this came in today, but banks backstamp it as the third. Okay, we accept, take it. He says it's against the consciousness. The name of the person is mentioned. I'm not going to cite the name, but it's all over the place, and so therefore there is a lot of these kinds of activities that are going on. Whether more truth and more whistleblowers will come out as the days pass, we'll get to the truth. But clearly, this is one of the most contested and contended elections in the U.S. history. And also the participation rate, given it is COVID, and if one has to go by Biden's words, Mr. President, we have to shut the country down and, there's lots of people being killed. To have this high turnout of voters, right? What exactly is working here? Is it because during the COVID, lots of medical nurses and this and that were appointed to knock door to door to go and collect the votes? We don't know, because it's a very high percentage relative to the total voters, eligible voters. And second, is the highest pre-poll votes received. And third, highest postal ballots received. So everybody is in contention in terms of the process and the validity and the legitimacy of the process. So I think there's much more water to run beyond just mere counting. In the meanwhile, yesterday itself, Mr. Biden and Ms. Harris have already set up their transit team. And even Mr. Biden came and announced, we are going to win this election, and we have to be patient and wait for all votes to be counted. And his same melodramatic statements like, this is not blue, this is not red, this is United States. Of course, if it is United States, why his people are not allowing Republican representatives to be in the voting centers, right? If it is United States. So therefore, we have lots of such emotional issues that pop up. But the other thing that needs to be calibrated and put within the context of this is every polling that has been done in the past 12 months is decisively wrong. Every poll, right, that's been conducted by, whether it is Gallup, whether it is New York Times, whether it is CBS, any of these polls, you take a look, the numbers are awfully wrong, right? So where did these numbers come from? 12 percentage points, 15 percentage points, 11 is narrowed the margin to now about 10 percentage points. There is a blue wave that is imminent and that is coming. So none of these things seems to reconcile. And by the way, I think we discussed this yesterday. There's a lot of money that was put in for Mitch McConnell and
Lindsey Graham and Susan Collins. Yes,
they could have given to all these homeless people, who are suffering, rather than election is a process where you're on policy. The other thing that I also want to kind of highlight and point out is that Susan Collins' election in Maine. I mean, she was supposed to be trailing by, we have lots of audience here. They can go and do their own kind of independent validation, whether it's -9, minus 10%. They were down. She won by 9, pretty close to 9%. That means the swing the opposite way is about 20%. That doesn't happen. That kind of swing. So again, there is this whole integrated kind of mystery behind this polling, voting, the pre-polls that were conducted in terms of the lead, the differential lead, etc. In the end, the margin has found out to be very small. The other point that also needs to be emphasized: President Trump was castigated as somebody who is not going to get blue collar, is not going to get minority, is not going to get Latino votes, is not going to get black votes, is not going to get Asian votes, because all these votes are with us, Democratic Party, right? So that was their kind of claim. That has proved to be, again, incorrect. And there's been more blacks voting, more Latinos voting, more Asians voting, and broad cross-section of community has supported President Trump. So there's a lot of such inconsistencies, which gives what I call as the ancillary corollary in terms of where the process has gone wrong in the US elections.
Sir, in the remaining time, I want us to touch upon a little bit upon the markets and Mitch McConnell's willingness to get a stimulus bill passed, even while this thing is playing out. Perhaps you can quickly wrap it up. The markets are feeling good, perhaps because Senate is going to be still Republican, and we all know for a healthy democracy, for a vibrant democracy, you want both sides to have some amount of power. That's how the checks and balances come into play. What are your thoughts on the markets, sir? And then after that, we can wrap up this program.
Well, yesterday we had the markets climb, 1.8% to 2%, right, between S&P and NASDAQ. Today, as I see it, pre-markets is Dow is up 1.47, S&P is up 1.91, and NASDAQ futures back up again at 2.7. Oil is hovering around the 38. and the 10-year bonds is around less than 0.8. So what it points out to is that there was a quick reaction naturally from one side of the fence, which is to say it is an endorsement of more clarity around the outcome around Biden-Harris. But when you actually speak with people in the markets are giving a thumbs up for the Senate being with the Republicans. Their concern is on two factors: whether there will be more regulations and reestablishment of the regulations that were dismantled, which is a hindrance to the business. The cost of the regulation and compliance is a layer to the business. That's number one. Number two is the second factor that is being given weightage is that there is a rollback of the taxes, because it is the tax which has helped more cash in the hands of the people and driven the economy on an average greater than between 2.5 to 3% over the past 4 years, the economic growth. So, except for the contraction in 2020, which is expected to be less than 6% or minus 5.2, 5.6%, depending on the estimates, except for 2020. So the story is that the market sentiments have been driven by that there is a balance of power and there will not be unilateral rollback. Remember, Biden's came into to elections on four important planks: 4.1 trillions of new taxes. Number one. Number two, rollback of Trump taxes and 4.1 trillion of new taxes, right? Which means corporate rates goes from 21 to 28. As personal slabs go up. The second thing that which is important is he wants to spend $450 billion to put into the Paris Accord compliance, which is not actually in the balance sheet, especially in the years of pandemic. Number two. Number three is this whole contentious issue around no energy, no fracking. We're going to ban fracking. And the consequence is one of the highest employed sectors. What's the consequence? So these are three things that bother, then minimum wage, right to work, etc. So these are many things that are business derailers. So within the context, the markets are saying there will be checks and balances with Senate in the hands of the Republican Party. And hence, you have seen the past 2 days of market sentiments.
Thank you very much, Sridhar ji. And viewers, do not forget to subscribe to our channel. And Sridhar ji and I would be doing a separate in-depth look at some of the tech companies and their successes, how they managed to become what they are today. Yeah, this is going to come every weekend or so, perhaps for the next few weekends. We will keep you posted on that. Thanks for joining again, and we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channels. Namaskar.